Sam Walton didn't open Walmart in big cities where Sears and Kmart already dominated. He targeted small rural towns competitors ignored, places too small to be worth a fight. Walmart became the only real option in town, then expanded outward one town at a time until it had a footprint too large to challenge. But the real secret wasn't location, it was logistics. Walmart built its own distribution centers and trucking fleet decades before most competitors bothered, letting it restock shelves faster and cheaper than anyone else. That speed let it undercut prices without losing margin. By the time bigger retailers noticed, Walmart already controlled the supply chain end to end. It wasn't competing on price alone, it was competing on a cost structure nobody else could copy. That's the real reason everyday low prices worked. They weren't a sacrifice, they were a byproduct of infrastructure built years earlier. Walton played a long game most retailers weren't patient enough to play. Amazon didn't launch as the everything store. It launched selling only books, a product with infinite variety, low complexity, and cheap shipping. That narrow focus let Jeff Bezos perfect the operational backbone, warehousing, logistics, customer experience, before expanding into other categories. For years, Amazon looked unprofitable on paper. Wall Street questioned it constantly, but Bezos was deliberately reinvesting every dollar of profit into infrastructure, fulfillment centers, delivery networks, and eventually cloud computing through AWS. That reinvestment looked like weakness from the outside. It was actually a moat being built in real time. By the time competitors realized Amazon's advantage wasn't just selection, it was too late. The logistics network was already unbeatable. AWS alone now generates more operating profit than Amazon's entire retail business combined. The lesson is that patience with short-term profit can build a long-term monopoly on infrastructure competitors can't easily replicate. McDonald's isn't really in the burger business, it's in the systems business. Ray Kroc's real innovation wasn't the food, it was standardization, identical training, identical layouts, identical supply chains, so a location in Ohio operates exactly like one in Texas. That consistency is what let McDonald's franchise explosively without losing quality control. Franchisees bought into a proven operating system, not just a menu. Kroc also made a quieter, smarter move. McDonald's Corporation earns significant revenue from owning the real estate under its restaurants, collecting rent from franchisees regardless of how burger sales perform. That real estate strategy insulated the company from food cost volatility and gave it a second, more stable income stream. It's a reminder that the most valuable part of a business isn't always the product customers see. Sometimes it's the invisible infrastructure behind it. McDonald's success is a blueprint in operational replication done at massive scale. Costco flips the typical retail model. Most stores make their profit through markup on products. Costco makes most of its profit from membership fees, which lets it sell products near cost and still remain highly profitable. This creates a rare alignment of incentives. Costco genuinely benefits from keeping prices as low as possible because low prices drive membership renewals, which is where the real money comes from. That's very different from a retailer whose profit depends on squeezing every extra cent from each item sold. Costco also famously limits its product selection to a small number of bulk items per category, which increases buying power with suppliers and simplifies operations dramatically. Fewer SKUs means deeper discounts and faster inventory turnover. The result is a business model where customer trust and loyalty become the primary profit engine rather than transactional markup, a structural advantage that's difficult for traditional retailers to replicate without changing their entire business model. Apple's success isn't really about being first, it rarely is. It wasn't the first company to make an MP3 player, a smartphone, or a tablet. Its advantage was refining categories others created, then wrapping them in tightly controlled design and a closed ecosystem. That ecosystem is the real strategy. Once someone buys an iPhone, they're pulled naturally toward a MacBook, AirPods, and Apple services because everything is designed to work seamlessly together. Switching away from that ecosystem becomes inconvenient. which creates enormous customer retention without needing explicit lock-in contracts. Apple also protects premium pricing by controlling both hardware and software, unlike competitors who often rely on third-party operating systems. This vertical integration lets Apple guarantee a level of polish competitors struggle to match. The core lesson from Apple is that being second to market isn't a disadvantage if you're the one who perfects the experience and builds a self-reinforcing ecosystem around it. Coca-Cola doesn't primarily sell drinks. It sells a formula and a brand, then lets others handle the heavy lifting. The company produces concentrated syrup and licenses it to independently owned bottling partners around the world who handle manufacturing, distribution, and local logistics. This model lets Coca-Cola scale globally without carrying the massive capital costs of building and running factories everywhere itself. It focuses its resources instead on marketing, brand consistency, and formula protection, arguably the most valuable and hardest to replicate parts of the business. The result is one of the most recognized brands on the planet, present in nearly every country, built on a business structure that separates brand ownership from physical production. Coca-Cola's lesson is that scaling globally doesn't always mean controlling every step of the supply chain. Sometimes it means controlling the one irreplaceable asset, the brand and formula, and letting partners handle the rest under strict guidelines. Google's core product, search, has always been free. Its actual business model is advertising, and that's the part people often overlook when studying its success. By giving away an addictively useful tool, Google built an enormous, constantly growing user base, then monetized the attention that tool generated. This free product monetized attention model let Google scale user adoption far faster than a subscription-based competitor ever could. Once it had scale, its advertising data became more valuable than any competitor's because it understood user intent better than anyone else on the internet. Google then reinvested aggressively into new bets: Android, Maps, YouTube, Cloud, many of which took years to become profitable, similar to Amazon's reinvestment pattern. The lesson from Google is that owning the front door to information gives a company leverage over an entire ecosystem, and that leverage, not the free product itself, is where the actual value lives. Nike doesn't manufacture the shoes it sells. It designs them and outsources production to factories overseas, keeping the company lean and focused on the two things it does best: product design and brand storytelling. That asset-light model let it scale production up or down without owning expensive factories. Nike's real advantage, though, is emotional branding. It doesn't market shoes as shoes. It markets them as identity, aspiration, and performance, tying its brand to athletes and cultural moments people already care about. That emotional connection lets Nike charge premium prices for products with relatively low physical production cost. By controlling design and brand while outsourcing manufacturing, Nike keeps margins high and stays flexible as trends shift. The company's lesson is that a product's value isn't fixed by its manufacturing cost. It's set by the story and identity a brand builds around it, which is often the most defensible and profitable part of the entire business. 8 different companies, 8 different industries, but the same underlying pattern. Narrow focus first, a system behind the product, a cost or brand structure competitors can't easily copy, and reinvestment instead of shortcuts. If this helped you see enterprise success differently, subscribe. Next time we're breaking down how these same companies are fighting to stay dominant.